Hello, welcome back to Champion Discussions. I don't know, whatever this series is. It's like the Monster Train discussion series, I guess is what I'm gonna call this, where I discuss things. And right now we're going through the champions again. If you want to see original thoughts on this, by the way, I did a review series with Cranberry of each of the clans. This is these videos are a little different. It's just A, it's just me, and B, I'm going a little more in depth than I think we did because I tried to keep those videos moving, even though they were like 2 hours. Feel like we could have gone even longer. Plus, it's been a few months since we did those. Well, it has been a few months. Anyway, today we're doing the Sentient. We're going to talk about the three versions of the Sentient. When do you take each one? What are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? Let's begin, shall we? We'll start off with Explosive, the Rejuvenate Sentient. This is a Rejuvenate 1, 25 health. We'll switch them all to 1 so you can compare them at 1. I think this is probably the most important time is level 1. Rejuvenate starts at 25 health, so she's the lowest health. And when Rejuvenate, which is when healed, she will trigger this, and she will deal 20 damage to the front enemy unit. Very straightforward. Goes up to 50, deal 40, and 100, deal 60. Very fragile. Let's get that out of the way. Explosive Sentient, Rejuvenate Sentient, very, very fragile. She's low on health. However, that doesn't matter too much because if you're picking the Sentient, you're healing a lot. I think that this Sentient has a relatively weak early game, but in general, I think the Sentient has a weak early game. And what you get for that weak early game is I have won runs with just the Sentient. I don't think you can do this with many of the champions. I think that Trample Penumbra comes to mind as one of the other ones, but that one's a lot more of a special circumstance. Rejuvenate Sentient can solo you entire floors, entire combat. In most cases, like when you pick Rejuvenate Sentient, all you have to do is... So step 1, well, let me walk you through it, right? Because first of all, let's talk the math. You have to trigger Rejuvenate 3 times in the early game to kill a heavy. You have to trigger it 3 times in the mid game to kill a heavy. You have to trigger it 4 times in the late game to kill a heavy. However, there's also like some of the heavy 190 health heavies, right? It's all heavies 3 times on these two, and then it's all the main heavy 3 times or 4 times, but most of them 3 times, which is a lot. It's essentially you have to heal twice and then play 1 regen, which isn't too hard to do. Like you'll usually have regen going. This Sentient though, what you want to do is you want to stick behind her a unit that says sweep, or a unit that like is Animus of Will, basically. One of those two, like Shattered Shell or Animus of Will are the best two, because you want something to help her kill the boss. And then you just stack a ton of regen on the Sentient. Usually, I've honestly done it a lot of times just by playing 6 restores a turn with Edge Prior. You mix in a few engrafts, the one heal, 1 energy card. You mix in some awakes, some wildwood saps, whatever you get. But note that stacking like 30 regen on this unit doesn't stop a 190 health heavy from only taking 60 damage and then walking away. You have to have a lot of active healing cards like Restore, and Engraft is probably the best one. Things like that. And yeah, she'll win you the game. Like, she kills heavies. There are not many champions that just outright kill heavies like this. I guess each path or each champion has one that is like, this just kills heavies. And this is the Sentience one. And it's good. Like, it's really good. Highly, highly recommend it. I definitely was cool on it. I didn't like it very much before, but I've seen its power. You put a Shattered Shell or an Animus behind it, and you have to let the Shattered Shell scale up, or you just scale the Animus through like Razor Sharp Edge, and then you stack 30 to 40 regen on the Sentient, and you win the game. Early game, you have to be very careful about one main thing, which is not getting your Sentient sniped by a Daedalus bomb. You have to be very cognizant of how much damage each potential bomb placement could do to you. Make sure a double barrel Daedalus bomb doesn't lose you the run. And in the mid to late game, it's pretty straightforward, right? You just play healing cards on the Sentient. You can put her wherever. She doesn't even necessarily need to be your tank. You can put her behind something if you're really worried about it. I've never done that, but you could. Like maybe a Sentient Hot Shark 4 wouldn't look that bad, right? I've never had that one offered to me though. One final note though is with this Sentient, I think that I follow this rule. You may want to follow this rule, maybe not. I don't think you ever want to take double rejuvenate. If you're picking the sentient, you basically lock yourself out of taking the hollows. You'll never do enough healing for it. But, you know, pretty clean. Take double draw, take edge prior, remove everything from your other clan, play your sentient, play 6 restores per turn because you duplicated one because it's the best option, and win the game. Like, it actually just works. Remove everything. She's really powerful. Because you have consistency here. You have a win condition, you just need to add in regen. Good champion. Like her a lot. Up next is Cultivating. This one's pretty straightforward as well. It's a revenge draw 1, 40 health. The draw never goes up, but she gets more health, so it's 40, 100, 200. Cultivating is weird. I spent some time dying on the hill for Cultivating, but I'm ready to tell you, Revenge Sentient is not good. I had one really crazy run. So first of all, talk about the pros. 40 health, very tanky, very good. 200 health is huge, huge, and draw 1 is really good as well. When she gets hit, she draws you a card. This is a lot of card draw. However, your first combat is really rough. If you're picking this as your first champion, your first combat is rough. It's really tough, and then you're not really getting any benefit other than health. So you're banking on finding something useful for her as a damage dealer, which is hard to do. Awoken has a lot of good answers to that question of what's my DPS, but usually you're not going to find anything too good. Yeah, usually you won't find anything too good. However, it's not the worst. I've had a few runs go well on Covenant 25. All-inning Revenge Sentient 200 health is crazy if you can get there, but getting there is hard. You have to make a plan. I think if you're gonna try this, like if you're like, oh man, I really want to play Revenge 3 or like Cultivating 3, you want to start with Razor Sharp Edge so you have a way through the early combat without taking a ton of damage, which is going to be Razor Sharp Edging a Train Steward behind her, and then hope you find a unit draft that gets you going, right? One thing to note, it's really hard to figure out how splitting the sentient works, right? But what I have found after doing some research, and I can't prove this to you, you just kind of have to trust me, but if you go Bristling 1, so Spikes 1, and Cultivating 2, you end up at the same health as going Bristling 3. So you can do Spikes 10, draw 1, instead of Spikes 40 for the same health numbers. But you have an awkward period where you have less health in this stage, I believe, in Cultivating 2. But I'm not, or in Cultivating 1, it's like plus 30, I believe. So she'll be at 60, where she would be at, maybe not. Maybe it is the same. You just get the revenge. I don't know. Health numbers are really weird. I don't really know how to calculate them with the champion. I think you just kind of add them up, but also it's weird, and I don't really know how much you get for each one. But I can tell you that you can do Cultivating to Spikes 1 and have it be pretty good. It's not bad, right? If you're not going against Seraph the Chaste. But we'll get into that with Sentient when we talk about the Spikes champion. Also, don't combo this with Explosive. Explosive, in general, you just stick to your Explosive path. If you pick 1, you're going to 3. I've never picked Explosive 1 at the very start and not finished the path. But you can in desperate times. Well, basically, let's talk about the Spikes Sentient first. I think I should change the order of how I do these videos. This will be changed in future videos, but I'll talk about each one individually, and then I'll talk about how you combine them. That's what I'll do from now on. And I'll focus this video up a little better. Alright, so Spikes Champion, Bristling. Start at 30 health, the middle of the road. Higher than Explosive, lower than Cultivating, of course. Goes up to 60 with Spikes 20, and Spikes 40, 120. Whenever she's attacked, she does the damage equal to her spikes, if you don't know how Spikes works. It is good. I think that Bristling and Explosive are both on par in terms of power level. However, unlike the Hornbreaker Prince, they answer different questions. If you take Spikes 10, you slap this unit down on the bottom floor, no backline ever walks by you. She kills all the backline. Easy, with very little effort. You can then focus all of your attention for the rest of the combat on something else. Usually it's going to be healing a unit on your top floor, so that, like healing a Thorned Hollow, for example, to kill the boss, or buffing up an Animus of Will. But the Spike Sentient is very much set it and forget it. You drop her down, she's a reasonable tank that crunches all of the backline at the same time. She's basically Hot Shark, right? Basically, she's just Titan Sentry from Stygian. However, when you get up into the high level of spikes, if you throw her a Shard Channel, she's doing 80 damage with her spikes 40, which is reasonable. If you have like the Petrified Crucible, you can get that up to 80 pretty easily, or even 120 with a Shard Channeler. That's a lot of damage. I've had runs where the Sentient was a big chunk of damage because she's doing that to every unit. At level 3, she can do a reasonable job of threatening heavies with a Shard Channeler. However, make sure he doesn't get picked. He's a 0-2. And, yeah. The Sentient, also another easy way to kill heavies is Bramble Lash. Pick up Bramble Lash 10 times. 10 is 100. This is higher than 45, which is the highest health you'll see at this point in the game. 10 times 20 is 200, higher than every heavy in the game. 10 times 40 is 400, which is just overkill. But, yeah, this Spikes Champion is really good. I think that similar to Hornbreaker Prince, you can just kind of choose which of Bristling or Explosive you want to play. I don't think you should start Cultivating ever, but Bristling and Explosive are both good. Like, thumbs up, buddy. You can choose which question you want to answer. You can kind of tailor it towards what your friendly clan does. Like, if you're playing Awoken Umbra, you probably want to lean towards Spikes because you're probably going to be playing a lot of morsels on your top floor and, like, just gorging something up to win you the game, right? Whereas if you're playing, like, I don't know, Awoken Melting, for example, you probably just want to go Rejuvenate if offered both of them, because then you can just remove all the Melting cards pretty easily and have Rejuvenate Sentient solo your run. And yeah, I think that's basically it for individually. Like I said, with the combos, you can combine Bristling 1, Cultivating 2 if you don't need the higher spikes damage. Sometimes, and I think you often do end up, I usually prefer the 40 spikes. Also, important to note, Seraph the Chaste does half the spikes on the Sentient. So it goes down 40, 20, 10, 5, I think it goes to 3, and then 2, 1. I think they round up for you in those cases. But either way, if you're against Chaste, you always want to finish your spikes because basically Chaste is probably going to hit you because you should have 2 floors set up. Chaste is probably going to be hitting you 50-50. Chaste goes 8 rounds, so 4 hits on your Sentient will drop her to 20, 10, 5, 3, which is still enough to kill most backliners in every combat. However, if you're at spikes 10, it's 5, 3, 2, 1, right? Which becomes not enough very quickly and you get overwhelmed. I have had runs where it's like, okay, I started with spikes 10 and now I'm just going to have to pivot into explosive because my backline or my frontline damage is non-existent. Those runs usually die because your Sentient is going to have super, super low health. She's going to end at like 70 health or something like that if you try that. Typically that pivot isn't going to work out, but desperate times you may end up don't be afraid to try jumping between them if your run is doomed. If you're looking at like, wow, I have no way to hit frontline whatsoever, you can try to jump over here and pick up explosive, but it's kind of risky. You'd be better off probably just looking for a Bramble Lash, but it can work. In terms of power level, I think the Sentient is slightly worse than Hornbreaker Prince. I think she's on the weaker side of the champions, but she is still pretty strong. I think all of the champions are pretty strong. You have 2 good picks with the Sentient always, which is an important thing for a champion to have. However, none of your picks, like Explosive has the flaw of being weak to your first 2 bosses, and Bristling has the flaw of being weak to the first 2 combats heavies, which are both very scary things to have. You're probably not going to take a ton of damage from Bristling, but if you have a bad first combat, if you don't have enough regen stacked up on your Sentient, which is hard to do through just restores, you could end up taking a solid like 20 to 30 on your first combat with Rejuvenate before you pick up a unit that actually matters and some good cards. But once you get those, she'll probably solo the run for you. And then Cultivating's also here. You can do level 3, but it's usually not worth it. Just pick one of the other 2. But you can do like Bristling 1's level 2 Revenge here, as I said. And that's not bad. And yeah, that's that. That's the Sentient on the books. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, don't forget to drop me that like. Subscribe if you want to see more. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.